Zira's story is one of obsession, devotion, and a hunger for vengeance that ultimately shattered her and everyone around her. She wasn't born a villain. She was made one, and like all great Lion King stories, her tragedy started with love, or something like it. Let's go back, before the Outlands, before Kovu, back to when Zira was just a name whispered behind Scar's throne. Zira first enters the spotlight in The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, as Scar's fiercest and most devoted follower. She's not just loyal, she is the shrine, the sword, and the sermon of Scar's legacy. But fans have always asked, where did she come from? Some believe she was once a lioness of Mufasa's pride, maybe even born inside the Pride Lands. Others say she came from beyond, an outsider from birth, marked by a clipped ear and a past lost to exile. Either way, Zira didn't start out as royalty, but she would claw her way there. And that hunger for status, that fire in her gut, it found its match the moment she met Scar. There's no official record of how Zira met Scar, but fan theories flood the savannah. Maybe she admired his cunning. Maybe she mistook his cruelty for strength. Maybe, just maybe, he saw in her the perfect echo chamber. A post on r/Lion King lays it out. Zira was obsessed. Scar could have said the sky was green and she would have roared in agreement. Whatever the truth, Zira didn't just follow Scar. She worshipped him. And when he finally named Kovu as heir, it was like a coronation for her too. She was the queen, at least in her mind, but royalty has a price, and Zira was ready to pay it in blood. Zira's personality? A cocktail of precision and madness. She's intense, calculated, and laser-focused on legacy, not love. She raises her cubs not to play, but to plot. And behind that sharpness is an even sharper fear that she'll be forgotten, that Scar's memory will vanish, that she'll fade without making the world bleed for ignoring her. One fan said it best on My Lion King. Zira didn't love Scar. She loved the version of herself she became when he was king. So when the king she built her identity around crumbled, Zira didn't grieve. She vowed revenge. During Scar's reign, Zira rose fast. Her loyalty was absolute. Her reward? Power. She raised her cubs, Nuka, Vitani, and Kovu, with a singular mission to resurrect Scar's rule. Kovu wasn't even Scar's biological son, but Zira didn't care. He had the dark mane, the potential, the cold gaze. He was Scar's legacy and her tool. But when Simba returned and Scar died, the world turned. Simba exiled Zira and her pride to the Outlands, dry, barren, merciless. It should have broken her. It didn't. It sharpened her. Banished, but not broken. Zira whispered war songs into her children's ears and sharpened her claws on her pain. The Outlands became her battlefield, and the war had just begun. The Outlands became her battlefield, and the war had just begun. Zira didn't mourn Scar's death. She weaponized it. She looked at her children and chose one to rebuild the throne, Kovu. He wasn't born of Scar's blood, but he bore the dark mane, the sharp jaw, and the silent fury Zira craved. When Scar named him heir, whether by declaration or Zira's own retelling, it lit a fire she fed daily. Her other cubs. Nuka longed for approval, but got scraps. Vitani followed orders, but Kovu was her masterpiece. Zira molded him, trained him, isolated him. She didn't raise a son, she sculpted a weapon. That's what one Redditor posted, and honestly, I agree. Kovu's identity was forged in the shadow of a ghost. Zira's plan was simple. Kovu would infiltrate the Pride Lands, win Simba's trust, then end him. And here's where it gets twisted. The plan wasn't just about revenge, it was about restoration. Zira didn't see herself as the villain. She saw herself as Scar's last faithful servant, restoring order after Simba's betrayal. She rehearsed the lies, she hardened Kovu's heart. But what she didn't expect was Kiara. Kiara, Simba's daughter. Innocent, curious, and kind. A lioness who saw through the fear. She met Kovu not as Scar's heir, but as someone lost and longing. And Kovu, raised on war, caught a glimpse of peace. And that's when Zira's masterpiece began to crack. The moment Kovu hesitated, Zira noticed. The moment he smiled at Kiara, she knew. To Zira, love was betrayal, compassion was treason. Nuka, desperate to prove himself, took his chance. He tried to kill Simba. It failed. The logs collapsed. And Nuka, her forgotten son, died under the weight of her ambition. Zira didn't cry. She didn't collapse. She looked down at his crushed body and whispered, "I'm so disappointed in you." That moment haunts me, not because of what she said, but because she meant it. With Nuka dead and Kovu exiled by Simba, Zira launched her final assault. She rallied the outsiders, war drums in her ears, fire in her chest, but the battle didn't go as planned. Vitani, once loyal, saw the madness. She crossed over to Kiara's side. Other outsiders followed. Her army, her life's work, fell apart in front of her eyes. Still Zira fought. She lunged at Simba, claws drawn. But Kiara stopped her. Kiara didn't attack. She reasoned. She reached out. She offered unity. A future. Zira looked at that future and chose rage. She lunged again, this time at Kiara. They both tumbled toward the cliff edge. Kiara reached for her. Zira refused the paw, and she fell. Her body vanished into the river below, but her legacy lingered, bitter, broken, and soaked in every cub she ever touched. And now, the war is over, but the healing is just beginning. Zira's death didn't come with a roar or an echo of triumph. It came with silence, a splash, a refusal. She could have lived. Kiara gave her the choice. But Zira's hatred, what she'd nursed like a fourth child, was heavier than her own survival. And in that fall, something deeper broke. Kovu didn't just lose his mother, he lost the voice that defined him. Vitani didn't just change sides, she became the bridge. And the outsiders, they were no longer Zira's soldiers, they were lions seeking peace. You'd think that's where it ends, but ghosts don't drown. Zira haunts the Pride Lands long after her death, not in spirit form, but in scars, emotional ones. In the Lion Guard, we see the aftermath. Kovu and Kiara rule together, but the tension still simmers. Kion, Simba's second cub, feels the weight of legacy. The name outsider still holds poison. In flashbacks, Zira appears again. Cold, calculated, but different, almost like a myth retold by lions who can't forget her. Zira had 3 children, but only one ever mattered to her plan. And yet, in the end, all of them escaped her shadow, in their own ways. Nuka, the unloved, died trying to earn her praise. Vitani, the obedient, found her voice by walking away. Kovu, the chosen one, rejected her path entirely, and in doing so, finally became free. There's something quietly powerful about that the greatest rebellion wasn't violence, but healing. Here's the truth I can't shake. Zira wasn't born cruel, she became it. Inch by inch, wound by wound, she tied her worth to scar. She sculpted a life from ashes, and when it all collapsed, she didn't know how to be anything else. She loved with obsession, mothered with control, and died with pride. But even in her fall, there's a lesson. That vengeance devours the one who carries it. That legacy, no matter how broken, can be rewritten, and that even the fiercest storms leave behind clear skies if we're brave enough to let go. Zira didn't get redemption, but her story gave it to others. And maybe that's enough. If you're still here, fellow Lion King nerd, you're the real MVP. Hit that like, subscribe, and drop your take on Zira down below. Was she a villain, a victim, or something far more complex?